So Keith has responded, and I want you to listen. So in Keith's first comment here, he says, I did not advocate National Socialism. And he said that I do not worship Savitri Devi. Literally, just an outright lie. I think I quoted her once. It's going to be an important thing to remember. I like her writing on ecology. He likes trees, so does she. And I think the esoteric Hitlerism stuff is ridiculous. Second comment here. Just again, I'm happy to address all these things. I just want to address, I think, what is the most glaring error? I would call it a lie, but you can call it an error. In this comment, he says, the worship Savitri Devi comment is just total misrepresentation, which suggests you were intent on the worst possible reading of anything I say. So let's look at a video from a year ago. This is a comment from White Rationalism, I'm tongue-tied. This is on a video by Keith called Reclaiming Socialism from the Left, published December 1st, 2019. Comment says, one does not become a National Socialist, one only discovers sooner or later that one has always been one, that by nature, one could not possibly be anything else, Savitri Devi. You'll see here that Keith has hearted the comment. Now, maybe that's what he was referring to as the one quote. I think that's pretty damning, and I could end the video there.
You can read Evola and accept his principles, but it's hard to see how they could manifest in the real world. In that,
I was going to say, how did you reconcile Evola with Trump?
Well, I wouldn't say I was ever like a massive Trump fan or anything, maybe for a while. But I think the way I reconciled actually was probably Savitri Devi. Savitri Devi's idea that. Because I'm quite interested in like the Eastern spiritual traditions as well, and she sort of married those three things like Hinduism, National Socialism, and like radical traditionalist ideas of someone like Evola. And her idea of fascism or nationalism being, the like instantiation of some sort of like Platonic conception of natural law or dharma, logos, whatever. That there's a lot of people in that movement often talked about the natural order and the laws of nature, but that basically Savitri Devi's idea that these political ideas were the manifestation of that eternal principle in sort of the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, that was like the best you could do. So that was like a kind of a real world description of Evola's sort of abstract principles. But again, that's stuff I probably didn't get into thinking deeply about for a while.
So when he says instantiation there, that term has to be understood. I understand there's a lot of jargon that obscures the meaning. Instantiation refers to Savitri Devi's idea that Adolf Hitler was a god and that he was incarnated, instantiated, incarnated. There's synonyms here. He was incarnated on Earth. So that's what I'm talking about when I say worshiping Hitler. And let's listen to some more, why don't we?
I was drawn to sort of iconoclastic thinkers, and I ended up reading a lot of counter-enlightenment people like Joseph de Maistre and these people. But I never really squared the circle of what this kind of politics could look like in the modern world, we'll say, because it seemed to be a lot of people I was reading, it was very sort of altar and throne, kind of counter-reactionary or reactionary, like traditional Catholicism stuff, which I wasn't really on board with. But then when I discovered the alt-right online and some of their ideas, like, the kind of thing you're publishing yourself, that seemed to me a way to square that circle. And someone like Savitri Devi, who I know you're very fond of, was quite influential to me. Her ideas about fascism basically being the reintroduction of the dharma, the natural law in the Dark Age, and that it was like the wedding of modernity with this traditional ideal. I found that really, really interesting, and that brought a lot of ideas together for me. And yeah, since then I've just been getting more and more radicalized, I suppose. And eventually I decided, looking at some of the commentators on YouTube, and I just thought it was like endless sort of easy, low-hanging fruit. And
So I want to point out here, this is from 2020, these comments. He says that Savitri Devi brought everything together for him. I mean, this is kind of repetitive, but he said he became only more radicalized. So I have to wonder, like, in the context of those comments, what does that mean when you say Savitri Devi brought everything together for me? She's this central figure in my life, and then I became even more radicalized. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean he started, liking trees more, he liked animals, he likes nature more? What does that mean?
now, when you encounter ideas like this, you see that Evola is really the most radical thinker you could read today. I mean, Jonathan Bowden called him the most right-wing thinker ever. And certainly, I mean, alongside maybe Savitri Devi, there's no one from the 20th century that you can read who challenges political orthodoxy more than Evola. And that's part of the value of Evola. Is
So that video was from December 6th, 2020. So that's, 8 months ago or something. Look, if Keith has changed his opinion on these things, that's fine. Like, I'm not here to tell people they can't change. I'm not here to tell people they can't evolve. That's the whole point of making these videos, is Keith has 30,000 subscribers, and a huge proportion of that, I don't have the statistics, but a huge proportion of those people are nationalists, national socialists, white nationalists, third positionists, etc. And, all of this information is flawed, it's misdirected, it is not honest, right? That's what I mean when I say that Keith is telling lies. I'm not really saying that I can look inside Keith's mind, I can look inside his heart and tell you exactly what he's thinking at any given time. But just to say that, these are falsehoods we should take seriously. If someone mistakes the temperature, if one mistakes, what you had for breakfast, I don't call these out as lies because they're really not important. They're really not consequential. But when you perpetuate through fear of losing Patreon subscribers, or, you perpetuate ideas by refusing to stand up to your audience, you refuse to call these ideas out. Look, I am more than happy to, have agreements. I'm more than happy to have agreements. If we read through this comment here, he says that I've said plenty of times capturing mass society is not on the cards. Nationalists can't win elections, and a minoritarian solution is the only viable path forward. He says, I'm obviously well aware romantic nationalism is a relative modern phenomenon. I don't think the Roman Empire was nationalist. In this comment, he says that Marx theorized that the process of capitalist expansion would inevitably lead to a proletarian revolution, and ruled by the fourth caste, the workers or proletarians, the Shudra, while 20th century third position movements believed a symphonia of the castes could again be achieved through rejection of mercantile materialism and Enlightenment thought, through nationalist revolutionary movements and syndicalism based around national idealism. So then he says, apparently you read this as both me affirming that proletarian rule is possible and that NatSoc is the only viable answer. So you can say that, you can assert that, but that's what your viewers believe. And if they don't believe that, then you shouldn't have a problem making a video like why I'm not a nationalist, why I'm not a national socialist, why I'm not a white nationalist, or why those things are bad, or why those are a bad path, or whatever. You should have no problem making a video like that, but I don't expect you to make a video like that. I would much rather you make a video like that than make a video about me or anything like that. To me, this is about your subscribers. It's about the 30,000 people who donate money to you and believe in the nationalist cause because of you. I think you need to challenge these people. I think that your language there, you describe yourself as a third positionist. If you've changed, come out and say why I'm no longer a third positionist. But when you say that 20th century third positionist movements believe blah, 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 and you describe yourself as a third positionist, how is this misreading you? Then he says, admittedly, the neo-tribal position is one I've only come to in the past year. Flies in the face of your political OnlyFans sunk cost fallacy about me. Well, it doesn't fly in the face of that if you don't come out and say it clearly and explicitly to your audience. I have abandoned a mass society approach, and that means I've abandoned nationalism, and that means I've abandoned National Socialism, and that means I've abandoned Savitri Devi, and that means I've abandoned all of these things. That's going to alienate your audience. You can come out and make a cute little video about neo-tribalism, and I just want to give an example of what I'm talking about here. I'm just going to pull up an image here that I think is illustrative of the audience we're dealing with. Now, I don't intend to say that your audience is like low IQ. That's not my intention. My intention is to say that your audience is basically looking for infotainment. They find your comment titillating, and this is the kind of attitude that we get. He says, low IQ leftist, referring to me. No point in even watching, will just dislike and report. I'm going to report my channel. I don't know for what, but I mean, we know how YouTube works, and that's how people work. They see their political tribe being attacked, the nationalists, the National Socialists, the white nationalists, and they say, I'm just going to censor the opposition, right? These types of people need to be reached. We need to at least attempt to reach them. We need to hit them over the head. Like, being cutesy and talking about neo-tribalism, I don't think gets the point across to these people. I think you have to kind of be bold and you have to take risks. Another image I'm just going to bring up here, and I guess I should have included this before, right? But, I just sort of threw this thing together. The so-called research that went into this video was not as extensive as it could be. I could have poured through a TRS 3-hour-long podcast, but I chose to skip that. This is posted on Keith's 25 thinkers of the third position, or thinkers of the right, actually. And then this person comments 25 thinkers of the third position. And if we scroll down here to number 16, we see that Adolf Hitler is on the list of third positionists hearted by Keith. And this video, this third position, again, this was made this year. So when he says, well, I've only changed my position in the past year or so, it's like, okay, great. What's going on with this content? What's going on with the Hitler worship? This is the video that it's taken from, by the way, February 16th, 2021. So 4 or 6 months ago. Look, again, I want to stress and emphasize, I am happy to see people change their position from things that I think are wrong and bad to things that I think are better and more valid. And I'm not looking to condemn people for their past beliefs. But, when Keith says here that I do not worship Savitri Devi, literally just an outright lie. I think I quoted her once. I like her writing on ecology, not instantiation, and think the esoteric Hitlerism stuff is ridiculous. I will let you guys judge whether or not you think I'm being ridiculous. I've had a lot of Keith Woods fans come at me and say I'm just outright lying about him. I can't do a compilation of every single comment every single person has made. But again, I'll leave it to you guys if you feel foolish right now, if you feel... what do you think? Post in the comments below. Do you think that I am accurately representing Keith Woods? Do you think he's had a genuine change of heart? If so, would you join me in calling to him and saying, hey, Keith, if you've made a dramatic change in your ideology in the last 6 months since you posted that 25 Thinkers on the Right video, please be public about it. Please be drastic. Please be bold. Please be willing to lose subscribers and Patreon pay pigs or whatever you call them. Maybe there's a nicer term, tithers. That you're willing to upset those people, to confront those people, to challenge those people because you've genuinely had a change of heart about those things. I am totally open and willing to see. I mean, I would love to see that, but I don't know that we will see that. I don't know that we will see anything further in this. As I've said before, I'm happy to debate Keith. And if he doesn't want to do that because he feels I've misrepresented him, I will leave it up to you whether you think I've misrepresented him. That's the video. Appreciate you listening. Until next time, bye-bye.
Nice. Subscribe. Very good.
Nice. Beautiful.
Very good.
Beautiful. You're going to love it. If you love autism, you're going to love my channel. Okay, great.
All right.